We set up parang lunch boxes where they would get their meals sa mga health centers namin, but it didn't work after a while because we were talking about migrant workers. They were moving around. So sometimes nasa Valenzuela sila, mag-endo, bukas nasa Caloocan na sila, so hindi na nakukunin yung pagkain nila. So reaching them in the community is the hardest part, and I believe it's only the LGUs that can do that. None of the NGAs, I mean, I don't want to speak for the two NGAs here, but kami sa DSWD, mahirapan ho kami doon. We don't have the boots on the ground, and neither do we claim that we can do that.
Maybe we can ask, Senator Kiko, then maybe ECCD and DILG can prepare their responses to this, no?
And maybe EDCOM, since they're the ones who said the foundational, it's in your first page of your report. So maybe you should come up with a recommendation as to which agency or which structure, whether it's a food SAR.
Tsaka, Senator, di ba kung ganito to importante, we have to build it. Di ba? I mean, ganun lang kasimple yun. If it's that important, we have to figure it out, and maybe this year is not the year we go full blast kasi we're still nangangapa, but we can take the year to do pilots, create systems, and then hope that in 2027, we can have a more full blast type of implementation, diba? I mean, that could be the response from this meeting or the hearing. But can we ask, we'll ask the ILG, sir, si Mr. Sabalsa or si Attorney Sala to respond, and then later si Carol, no?
Good morning po, Mr. Chair and Senator Pangilinan. So I am Attorney Noel Sala from the ILG Legal Legislative Liaison Services. So the DILG is based on the laws, the first 1,000 days and the Masustansyang Pagkain para sa Batang Pilipino Act. The role of the ILG here is mostly on coordination. So the ILG, through the BLGD and the BLGS, coordinate with the LGUs. However, we all know that based on the law, that, for example, the Masustansyang Pagkain sa Batang Pilipino Act, the DILG is the implementer in the local level as to the supplemental feeding program. So the DILG, through the local social welfare development officers, through the MSWDO, CSWDO, they are the ones implementing the supplemental feeding program. So the LGUs are implementing it through the child development workers. So the LGUs hire child development workers. These child development workers are those who are teaching the learners in the child development centers. So the role of the ILG here, the ILG and the LGUs are very important. So they are the one that are implementing this program. As to the school-based program, we have slides po.
Wag muna yung school-based program kasi that's extensively been discussed already. Let's talk about the community-based program. So, ang sinasabi mo, attorney, you work with the, what do you call it again, yung hinahire ninyo? The
Child development workers.
child development workers. That's per municipality and per city.
Yes po, per barangay po,
Per
and it's
barangay.
the LGU's responsibility. When I say LGU, it's the city and the municipality's
Kaya
responsibility.
ba nilang mag-implement ng gantong klaseng nutrition program?
They're currently implementing it po.
Okay, through funding of the LGU, because the LGUs also
Not
have...
through the LGU funding, but through the DSWD po. Kasi dinadagdag ng DSWD yung budget sa MSWDO, and the MSWDOs are the one responsible for implementing it. Sila in coordination with the Parents Teachers Association ng mga child development centers. So doon, yung mga, as far as I know on the ground, yung mga nagluluto doon is from the PTA. So sila yung nagpre-prepare ng yung mga
Isn't that for
cycle.
the school-based feeding program kung PTA?
Hindi po, nasa child development workers po, yung sa mga
So daycare. PTA
daycare
for the
workers.
daycare. Okay, so the supplementary feeding program budget is with DSWD.
The supplemental
They fund-
feeding po. And yes, it's with the
And then
DSWD
they
po.
fund the municipal, what do they fund? MS.
Yeah, we download it to the LGUs, and that's where, Senator Kiko, that's where the community procurement takes place.
Okay, so it's downloaded to the LGU, and then the LGU hires the child development workers, and
Yes,
then
po.
they co-manage that with the PTA of the daycare centers.
Yes po.
And is it working?
Yes po, as far as I know, yan po yung practice ngayon sa ground po. So the development workers are the one that is really the implementers on the ground through the MSWDO kasi yung child development workers are under the municipal or city MSWDO, Municipal Social Welfare and Development
The
Office.
MSWDO, do they report to the DSWD or they report to the mayor?
Devolve yun.
Devolve
That's why
yun.
I said we are set up like DOH. We supervise them by setting the standards, but the day-to-day administration goes with the LGU.
But I guess similar to the classroom bill that we have na DepEd is downloading to the LGU, LGU will implement, DepEd will monitor.
Yes.
That's a system.
That's when we joined the department. There were struggles na kami nagpo-procure regionally, which was mission impossible. The spoilage, the logistics. So we came up with a policy to download everything as much as we can, and then we monitor na lang based on financial and compliance and the actual implementation.
Okay, if that's already being done, Secretary, and Attorney, sa DILG, okay naman kayo sa sistemang yan, di ba? Or you foresee some problems with that setup?
As mentioned earlier by Secretary Gatchalian, wala silang boots on the ground, so they rely on the LGUs.
Yeah.
And as the ILG the ILG supervises LGUs, and the ILG is very supportive of these programs, yung supplemental feeding, yung school-based feeding, and other feeding programs of the government.
Okay, and in your experience, yung coverage ng MSWDO, di ba? Yung coverage nila, lalaki kung mas malaki yung pondo or may problema na sila with regard to absorptive capacity?
Yung based on my experience po, because I serve as executive assistant to our mayor back then, before joining the ILG. So yung MSWDO, if madadagdagan talaga yung trabaho nila if there's bigger budget. Because yung MSWDO, hindi lang naman kasi yung feeding program yung ginagawa. There's a lot, they're part of the local council for the protection of children, and there's other programs for the children's and social welfare programs for senior citizen under din sa kanila.
Sa tingin ninyo, anong porsyento ng bata na dapat maabot ang naaabot ng current system natin? Naaabot ba lahat ng dapat maabot o hindi?
Yung as for that po, I think the feeding program in the LGUs are operative naman po. It's operating because there's budget from the MSWDO, from the DSWD, and the MSWDO is implementing it. And it is closely coordinating with the Office of the Municipal Mayor for that programs. Meron po kaming update po, Mr. Chair, yung sa...
Before you... So yung MSWDO, lahat ng LGU meron yan?
Yes.
Actually po,
Lahat.
yung position ng MSWDO for city and municipality, the social welfare officer, based on the local government code, it's optional.
Yes, optional.
Yes po.
So, ano yung realidad sa baba? Lahat ba ng LGU? Ilang porsyento ng LGU ang merong ganitong meron?
Mr. Chairman, I don't have the figures right now, but we'll send it to you. But ano yan not especially for 4th class, 5th class LGUs, an LSWDO needs to be a registered social worker, which is quite scarce and very expensive. Yeah. So what happens next is they now have what we call social welfare assistants. They're deputized by the mayor to perform those functions. So kami naman, we took cognizance of that. We set the standards, capacitate them to fulfill the functions, but on a limited scale. Kasi for instance, they cannot sign social workers intakes, but yung administrative job na yan, kaya nila yan. Kaya nila yung dispensing with the food, and so that, kaya nila yan.
Well, we just want the numbers because, well, sa Department of Agriculture kasi, may mga MAU, Municipal Agriculture Officers, lahat. Pero, hindi capacitated or hindi sufficiente yung support ng LGU kung priority ba niya yung agri o hindi. Kasi kung priority niya, maganda. Kung hindi niya priority, wala. Eh baka ganun din sa feeding programs. Kung hindi priority ni Mayor, wala. Kung priority, meron. So pagka ganun,
Patay tayo.
di ba, magre-rely tayo dun sa baba, pero hindi priority ni Mayor, magkakaroon na naman ng malalaking gaps.
No,
So,
well,
yeah. Well,
that's where, I think the amendments to the law can really make it mandatory already. No? Kasi kung ganito kalaki yung problema, tama ba, Secretary? And we've all recognized that this is a huge problem. The mandatory nature of this program for the LGUs simply has to be mandatory, di ba?
And DLG can correct me, but it's part of the SGLG requirement. So, meaning it's sort of
that's an
mandatory.
incentive. That's an
Yes.
incentive.
Ah.
Kasi the seal of good local house governance is basically an award, correct, di ba?
That's indicator.
It's an indicator. Okay. So meaning it's not mandatory. It's one of the indicators. But you can mandate the feeding program. Tama po ba, Attorney Noel? It's not mandated kasi right now, di ba? Hindi pa siya mandated.
Yes po.
Like, for example, if we fund the school-based feeding program, it's mandated that they have to run it. No, can we mandate? The law can mandate the feeding
Yes po.
program.
The DILG will just implement the laws that are enacted with the Congress.
may I, for example, well, this is school-based, no? But, kumbaga, it may be not apples to apples, but maybe a similar intervention dun sa non-school-based feeding program. No? Because my understanding is in Japan, every school has a nutritionist. So it's not the teachers who handle the program for nutrition in the schools. It's a nutritionist. So maybe what should be mandated is a nutritionist for every LGU as a requirement, so that will be the the person in charge. And then now, in terms of its connection to the national, I'm not sure, and that's why maybe Dr. Carol can give us what are the international best practices out there, and maybe we can learn from them, diba? Go ahead. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I can just jump in. I think we're still, see, the DLG, friend from DLG, is still referring to the facility-based feeding. I think the facility-based feeding, from my opinion, mas madali siyang gamutin. Kasi it's just about capturing. Tama naman, mababa yung uptake, but the EDCOM has already given us a lot of leads, like pushing our low-income families to make them understand that ECCD is important so that they can go in with all these grants. I think it's in their finding nila, Doc Carol, na number 2, which was incentivize. That's 4 Ps. Kasi the low-income families is a low-lying fruit. But we have to still go back, yung kanina yung pinoint out na yung community-based, yung 0 to 2. I think the 0 to 2 isn't very clear who is implementing it. Yan yung, I think, takeaway ko from what Carol is saying. The DLG, I think, is jumping into the facility-based pa rin. Kasi dalawa ho, diba? As the chairman pointed out, meron tayong facility-based, which is the supplemental feeding program, and then this unknown, which is the 0 to 2. And kami sa DSW, we just pointed out what we've been doing for the 0 to 2. Like the first 1,000 day grant, the Philippine Multi-Sectoral Program. These are things that we are doing in a community. But like the chairman said, there has to be a bigger, stronger structure for the community base.
Carol?
Sir, just to cite the law, kasi ang nakalagay po kanina, the DOH shall be responsible for the implementation of this act. It shall be implemented at the barangay level through the rural health units and or barangay health centers in coordination with the sangguniang barangay. So, I guess the law assumed then that this mechanism would work and enable them to actually fulfill the mandate and deliver the services. Just to highlight, kasi po kanina nabibring up, sino ba yung magtitimon? I think we might need to also address the maybe elephant in the room for some of us, that we need to clarify NNC's mandate. Kasi po, ang NNC, walang isang malinis na batas yan. May presidential decree, may executive order, maraming batas na nagdadagdag na responsibilidad. Para kailangan mong pagdikit-dikitin yung mga yon to understand ano ba talagang role niya. Pero ano po, pag pinagdikit-dikit niyo po yan, what does it say? To formulate an integrated national program on nutrition, to supervise, coordinate, and evaluate the implementation of these programs, to coordinate the release of funds for nutrition programs, to propose funding for LGUs that must be prioritized for supports from the national government, to oversee and serve as a focal point in the integration